No Logo, written by academic Naomi Klein in the year of 1999. A book about the dangers of globalisation and multinational branding. With me is Chris Wilkinson, graduate of Nottingham Trent University in politics and history. The corporate mythology has it that Nike is a sports and fitness company because it was built by a bunch of jocks who love sports and were fanatically devoted to the worship of superior athletes. In reality, Nike's project was a little more complicated and can be separated into three guiding principles. First, turn a select group of athletes into Hollywood-style superstars who are associated not with their teams or even at times with their sport, but instead with certain pure ideas about athleticism as transcendence and perseverance, embodiments of the Greco-Roman ideal of the perfect male form. Second, pit Nike's pure sports and its team of athletic superstars against the rule-obsessed, established sporting world. Third, and most important, brand like mad. Chris, thoughts?
There is... Yeah, let me just have a look at this. It's on there. Yeah,
just that bottom paragraph there.
Right. So... I don't think it's ever been the case that a footballer has... I don't think it's ever been the case that a footballer has ceased to become associated with football, or a golfer with golf.
What about Cristiano Ronaldo with football, or David Beckham perhaps?
Yeah,
and then Tiger Woods with Nike and golf, which is one of the cases that she raises here.
What she's suggesting is that they are completely detached from the sports to which they play. There is no evidence of that whatsoever. They can't even cite an example, a real world example of this being true.
Well, one of the problems with the book is that it's often Michael Jordan who is cited repeatedly as a working case study throughout the book.
I think focusing one example doesn't prove a phenomenon. You have to have several examples for something to be proven. It's really shallow and stretching tiny facts that I think have been misinterpreted.
And to fetch a broader narrative, you think?
To fetch a broader narrative, which has no basis because there are no further examples. And it's suggesting as well, I mean, the fact that they've had to justify the views with the Greco-Roman ideal of the perfect male form.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah. Now, what's the evidence for that? People pin up footballers and things like that on bedroom walls. That's it. There's no other evidence for it. And the historical sort of the way in which this book has been embedded, by the sounds of it, into history is very shallow. It's also criticising as well changing marketing habits for companies. So they gave an example here of Nike being outdone by Reebok in the 1980s or whatever. And to change your marketing tactics in order to stay a profitable company is logical. It's not designed.
It's also predetermined, really, isn't it, by the necessity of human innovation in business.
Yeah, and because of the natural elements of competition, which is something that both businesses and sports share in common. It's a very strong value between the two of them. And so therefore it's only right that there is a correlation between competition in business, competition in sports. It's pretty much the same sort of thing. The final bits here, trying to make figures out to be pure about athleticism and things like that, I don't think there's a single case where that's been true. I think, actually, I tell a lie. I think Mo Farah could be the only person in which you could say that that's true, because he has a range of kitchen appliances
and corn meat supplements,
associations and things like that. Yeah. That's not a general trend. That is one person who just.
And also, he came to fame over a decade after this book was published. So there's no real long-term trends here.
Certainly not.
Just to ask you a question, just to play devil's advocate, can you see any negatives in the world that Naomi Klein seems to identify here? Are there any dangers of using Greco-Roman ideals as she describes in any way?
To be honest, I think she's very shallow as a researcher, firstly, but also as a theorist. You can't... I mean, that in itself is stereotypical. She has essentially engendered a stereotype in the book that she's writing. A stereotype which has no basis in reality, and it's proven as such because there are no examples that she can cite to suggest that it's true.
And also this Greco-Roman idea doesn't ring true to me because, as we were discussing before we started recording, examples I can think of are Vanessa Williams and Tiger Woods and Cristiano Ronaldo. These to me are all, and Michael Jordan as well, as she mentions, these to me aren't Greco-Roman in any way. These are a diverse range of people who do different sports and totally different personalities and sporting personalities. I don't see there being one concentrated ideal at all.
It has been proven with social science studies that the ideal male partner resembles that of a footballer. Now, to a woman, if you take this example, it implies that the perfect Greco-Roman ideal would naturally have been someone who was gladiatorial and muscular, heavily, like top-heavy, things like that.
Somewhat barbaric and...
Yeah, and ruthless and bearded. And none of these things, certainly at the time of 1999, footballers all had short hair, they never had facial hair, and they are not muscular. Because as part of the sport...
In fact, some footballers, even in the top level, were not particularly fit at the time.
Yeah, I mean, but they're not muscular, and therefore these sorts of... This ideal of a perfect male form is absolutely not true.
So, what are the so this world that Naomi Klein's identified here, what are the consequences of it?
This is a world that she has manufactured herself.
Yeah, but what are the consequences of a world like that, do you think? Because from what I can see, is that all it means is increased profits for Nike and legions of people aspiring to better themselves through fitness and good exercise, which I don't think is a bad thing. It's a win-win, really.
There is that. I think the point that she is feebly trying to make is that there is somehow a link between the increasing marketisation of figures within sports and their association to brands.
Do you think it goes? Do you think it goes more? It's more simple than that. That there are people that see a negative or a problem with increased profits, and people see that as a moral wrong.
That is the undertone to this entire diatribe, as it were. She finishes on third and most important, brand like mad. You know, that is a pretty sort of
vague epithet.
Well, and sort of underhanded as well, because it's suggesting that businesses should not brand. They should put the sports first.
Yeah.
And things like that. No business ever puts something that isn't
profits.
Well, yeah, they put profits first, essentially.
Morning.